And you heard that calling. They're getting quite excited. Maybe they're trying to boost the ranks. There's more hyena coming in from the front. We're going to stay with the ones that you have though, Arch, because that's where the action is. But maybe with their numbers, they will slowly move towards the lion. And a viewer commented that it looks like there's cubs there. I didn't notice the cubs there. It's possible. We are, yeah, what lions would you say these are? Archie, would you know? Would you be able to know? No, Archie agrees it's most likely the March breakaway. And here's a very cute hyena. He's going to walk past the vehicle soon. He's very fluffy. Look how fluffy he is. Maybe I'm just not used to seeing hyena up here, but they're not this fluffy in South Africa. Aren't you cute? He's gorgeous. And they are slowly moving towards the lions, folks. So we're going to stay here because this is what I've been wanting to see. I've been wanting to see lions and hyenas interacting. And the lions aren't showing any sort of motion towards them. And there we go. They're starting to sort of jog towards where the lions are. Let's just go across there. As 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more join the ranks. They're heading directly towards the lions now. Are you happy with the position, Arch? Okay. Good morning and welcome to the Mara Triangle in Kenya. My name is Steve Falconbridge. I'm joined by Archie on camera. We have got some interaction between some hyena and some lions. We are not sure how many hyena. They just keep coming in from the left. They've been doing a little bit of greeting ceremony and calling. We believe this small portion of the marsh breakaway pride, and they have got a kill. We're not sure what it is, but the hyena are building in ranks and they are slowly moving in towards where the lions are. We don't have the best view from here. We're good 200 yards from it, but it is very boggy and marshy and there's no driving in that area, but we have got as good a view as we can get. Please feel free to comment below. This is interactive and this is 100% live on Safari Live. We are in the Mara Triangle. This is a dream for me to see a group of hyena interact with lions. And there's about 15 of them now. Hyena, I mean, slowly coming together. There we go. Look at them. The lions gave them a bit of a something there. And the hyenas have bolted. I'm not sure what happened there, but the hyena got their tail between their legs. And my dream of seeing hyena out-muscle lions was shattered in a moment. Lions are very protective of whatever it is. Yes, and they are cubs. They are cubs with the lions. There they are. Jacqueline, I love hyenas too. And there you can see that female has got what looks like a foot in her mouth. And she's got lots of little cubs running around underneath her legs. And they would not want to get into action with hyenas when they've got cubs. So there she's dragging away the kill. At least 2 lionesses that I've seen so far. Possibly 3. It was hard to see from the distance. But it's not a very big animal that they have now. But who knows how long they've been feeding for. But one snarl from an angry mother is much more ferocious than just a lion on her own. When she's got cubs, she means far more business than when she doesn't. And did you see that, how those hyena all tucked their tails and bolted? No doubt they're going to go to the scene of the crime and sniff and pick up whatever leftovers there might be. But they're not a very confident show from the hyena clan this morning. And lions win again, so it seems. Eternal enemies, they say. A constant battlefield between the hyena and the lion, and I thought with 15 odd hyena moving in that there would have been a much better show of force between them, but they are slowly all just retreating. which is quite disappointing. Marvelous to see. Well, there still seems to be a lion there. If you zoom straight in there, arched behind that stump, there seems to be something behind that tree, just right. There we go, there's some cubs. There we go, they're still on the scene. Ellen asks, would the lions give up their kill? The lions don't ever just give up a kill, but she asks if they'll do it to protect their cubs. And I would think that lions would be even more ferocious because they've got cubs. But ideally they don't want to get in an interaction with too many hyena, so that's probably what's happened. They've moved away. But giving up the kill is something that can happen if the numbers outweigh what the lions are able to deal with. But what we've seen in the Sabi Sands in South Africa quite often is that even 1 or 2 lions have the upper hand over a number of hyena. And what we're seeing now is I only saw 2, maybe 3 lioness, and these hyena just weren't even willing. Quite often what you get is you get different prides of lions. They have different reputations with hyena, and some hyena will actually overcome some prides of lion, and some lionesses will just never ever back down, and that reputation sort of goes with them. The hyena don't want to take a proper bite to the neck, and it's all about who wants to go in first. And unless they get their communication together, I think there's quite a few youngsters in this hyena clan, unless they get their communication together and go in as one unit, they don't really have a chance against the lions. And what we saw there was them just, one lion stood up and growled and they bolted. So folks, from the front of the lion versus hyena, that is us for the moment. As I said, my name is Steve Falconbridge and joined by Archie. If this action broadcast, if you'd like to follow more of us on Safari Live, we are still live. Feel free to Google us and follow what we have to show you. We're going to stay here for a little while and have a beautiful, beautiful morning. Goodbye from us. So we're going to reposition, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to see if we can get a better look. More hyena coming in from the side. And we're going to go to Brent and see if he has an update for us.
Well, look at that. We're still with these lioness who have come up to the top of the ridge, but unfortunately they were spotted from a long way away by some hartebeest, and I'm now sort of, you can see the hartebeest, she's looking back towards where they were. Well, the other two have found a nice spot on top. There's some topi in the distance, but nothing really worth their while. So 2 of the lioness have now lay down amongst a little thicket, and I'm wondering whether they might just decide to rest up here on this crest with a lovely view of all the potential prey that could come from any direction. They're still very interested in eating. But while we sit here to see if these lionesses get up to anything more, it seems like James is wanting to go crawling into hyena dens again.
I am indeed, and there we have Ronald, and he's now going to go into that hyena den, and let's see what he can see. He's got a torch strapped to him. This is actually very cool. Look at this. Let's look to the right first. That's quite fun. You can see his light is unfortunately stuck on the left-hand side. Ooh, what is that? That looks like some form of dung or bones, possibly from a porcupine or a warthog. That's interesting. Can't tell exactly what that is. Let's go back the other way. Just to let you know, I've got two people sitting on this vehicle with me, Fergus and Sebastian, both of them now leaning over to see what's going on with Ronald's feed. And let's look down here.
Wow.
Look at this. Ooh. Now what I don't want to have to do is stick my hand in there to try and filch him out, because he may easily get stuck. Ooh. I think that's as far as he's going to be able to go. Michael, you say you reckon you see the den's platforms. I have bad news, everyone.
You're in.
Oh, no.
Oh, tonsils.
Oh, no.
I'm afraid he's stuck.
Oh, no.
Get in there, Dan.
Oh, gosh, now I'm going to have to go and fetch him. All right, let's see if I can get him out. Let me take this hook with me.
Gonna be interesting.
Sorry about this, everyone. I knew this was going to happen. At least we didn't see a snake in there. If we'd found a snake, I'd have been much more reticent to go wandering up here. See if I can get him out. Oh, he's a long way in. Can you, Sebastian, will you get hold of the controller there? He looks all right, but I don't think I can reach in there and get him. I'm going to need a longer stick. Yes, no, he's very stuck.
Stick's not very long.
My stick? Are we still live? Right. Okay, let's go across to Brent. Quick, Link, you've got 10 seconds.
So, one of those hartebeests has wandered right here, where that lioness is. There she goes. Oh, there it goes. To the right, sorry, Craig. Oh, the hartebeest nearly stepped onto her. Oh, that was close. That was very close. She was very unlucky. Out of nowhere, this hartebeest nearly walked into her. Oh dear, girlie. You should have waited a little bit longer, because he was watching the other two lionesses on top of the mound and didn't see the one that was a little bit further. Nearly ended up as breakfast. Now he's running around being very irritating and snorting at them. Hartebeest, that was close. Now, unfortunately for them, that didn't pan out. But let's just go across here to this other side, Craig. There's a topee. There's something behind the topee in the road. I can't see what it is in my binoculars. So there we go. See a little bit to the right. Oh, it's banded mongoose, I think. Yes, banded mongoose. That's a little bit small. But these lionesses are extremely hungry, so I think they're going to start moving again after that failed attempt. Now the only other thing apart from the topee and the mongoose that we can see out here is some ostrich. They're also quite a long way away, but it seems like the lions have almost locked in on the ostrich. But as I say, long way away, but they're on the move again. Now, from a little bit of lion excitement, let's head back to James, who, as I correctly predicted, was going to be crawling into a hyena den. When is he going to learn and attach a rope to Ronald?
Right, you should be able to hear me now. We've retrieved Ronald. A bit dirty. Hate to think what I've lain in, given the number of hyena we've seen in here. Anyway, here he is. as Fergus says, the next time we do that, because we might try it for TV, we'll put some fishing wire on his backside. So if we can pull him out, as opposed to have to go in and hook him out. There we are. Well done, Ronald. I see the torch is no longer on. I know it was on. Just run out of batteries. Good. Okay, well, there we are. That was fun, wasn't it? For some of us who were watching, giving much free advice from the back of the car here. Thank you, both of you, for your help in these matters. Okay, we're going to carry on. I believe that there's some space opened up at that lion sighting. We'll see if we can get in there. Now, let me plug myself in.
Ooh, smells.
Smells, does it? The two of them are now looking at me as though I smell bad. I believe you missed the picture of me right inside. Well, that's a good thing. I must say there is a bit of a niff to me at the moment. Phew. I'd have to have a bath when I get home.
Well, to get one of those little pine trees to hang over from your cap.
Yes, a little pine tree to hang over my hat. That's a very good idea, Fergus. Thank you for that. You and Sebastian have been spectacularly unhelpful.
What, you're going to find drone down there?
They did offer to form a human chain in case I got stuck down there. Anyway, so it goes. Thank you for bearing with me, everybody.
How to bungee to your back.
Yes. Anyway, let's go and see if we can find these lions. While we do that, I think we're going to go back on foot to Scott Dyson and see what his objective is for the next hour.
Sadly, not much to report here on the bushwalk. We're just trying to cover as much ground as possible in the hope that we're going to find some tracks on the road. And we're sticking to the roads because it's definitely going to be the most likely spot that we do find a track, because it's the largest kind of sandy areas we'll find. If you go off onto the smaller game trails, it becomes increasingly harder to see and spot tracks. But no joy, sadly, as of yet. And can't just stop wondering, where could Tundi be? And there's really no way of knowing. It would be a complete thumbsuck. Even though we knew where she was yesterday morning, she can roam quite far whilst hunting, and therefore if she did make a kill quite far away, she would have come back, collected the cub and taken the cub to that kill. So who knows, even though in this area we're not expecting to bump into her, maybe we will. What's happened here? This is some antelope. Looks like impala running off that way. And whenever you see, obviously, antelope running, it's useful to take a look around and just make sure there's no predators that have caused them to run. But very often they will just take a run around with one another. Maybe they were jumping for joy due to the fact that they've got some rain, and therefore the vegetation will hopefully green up for them in the next few days. Very good. Well, we're going to continue on our quest to try and find any sign of Tundi or any big cats that we can then trail. And while we continue with our mission, we'll send you across to Tristan for an update on how he's getting along.
Well, we have also had very similar luck got this morning, and it is not. We found no sign of anything further, just those tracks for that male leopard going off, and Nkuhuma into Chitwa, and a herd of buffalo going into Buffalo's Hook. So really much we can do with all of those. We'll have to just try and wait for them all to come back. But Tundi definitely should be around. I have a feeling she's in weather like we just had, possibly make a kill somewhere. Now I believe I've got a bit of audio issues, so I do apologize if you can't hear what I'm saying. Hopefully it will sort itself out and rectify itself. There we go, better apparently. So I was just saying that we haven't had any luck either. There's just been the buffalo that have crossed out into Buffalo's, into Manialeti, was Nkuhuma into Chitwa, male leopard off. So it's Now, I believe it is still bad audio, so let's try this again. It's up into my new leg for the third time, and that's it. And you're back with us in the Mara. Apologies for any breakup you might have been experiencing with Tristan. And there are some of the smallest, cutest little cubs there with these lioness, who seem to have pretty much finished off whatever it was that they were feeding on. And Archie's suggesting it was probably a warthog. I mean, I saw the lioness with something in its mouth. I didn't get a good look at it, but it was probably the leg of a warthog. A little bit of ham for her to store for later. She's moved off a little bit more to the left. She's in some thick cover. And there's at least, we count at least 4 lioness here, but didn't manage to get a number on the cubs because they are very small and we are very far away. And these hyena have been very disappointing. They are pretty much scattered all around us now. They ran high heaven from the lions, and they're now pretending that nothing ever happened. Ashlyn, you ask what's the guide's favourite way to entertain ourselves when there's a lack of game. I don't know if you mean between ourselves or when we're on drive waiting between segments, but there's lots of conversation that happens. Some of it can be completely arbitrary, and I don't know if there's a favourite. I have always got my binoculars and I am always birding. We just find it very hard to get all these birds on camera for you, because it takes a moment to get the link across, and then when it comes, we've lost it. So for me, I love to bird. I love to enjoy the sunshine and just to breathe, take a moment out. It's nice to be quiet. As a guide, when I was guiding, and you've got guests on the back, you have moments. You don't really have too many moments of silence. You constantly, oh, there's a beautiful lilac-breasted roller. Looks like Archie likes to bird too. You don't have too many moments of silence as a guide. You're always talking to the guests and answering questions. And at least now in this sort of position, we find animals and then we wait for you lovely people to come back and join us so we can actually sit quietly, which is one of the highlights for me of being in the bush, is quiet moments. I think we take them for granted when we're in the city, but when we do sit and be quiet, you actually realize how noisy the bush actually is, all the sounds. If you can hear that cricket in the background. The sounds of the animals calling. Had the call of a striped kingfisher before. So when you finally sit down and actually be quiet, it's amazing the sounds that can reveal themselves to you. And we could actually hear the hyena before I actually saw that one running. Could hear it calling, and that's when they all got grouped over here, and we drove all the way around from the other side of the marsh to come and watch some exciting hyena activity, and they were very disappointing. I hope we get to see some. Sorry if it's quite bumpy, it's quite far off there, folks. Archie's on maximum zoom, but these do look like some very angry lionesses. I mean, that one on the right has had her ears flat the entire time, which is an indication of someone being highly aggressive or very grumpy. And I think these hyena have encountered these lionesses before, and they thought, okay, she said no, and then they moved away without as much as a second word. Oh, cool, there's a hornbill just landed there. Oh, what's she doing? Maybe they're going to come and tell the hyenas what they think. That'd be wonderful. Or they're just seeing if there's any scraps left after whatever it is that they killed. Can you hear that striped kingfisher? It's a nice hole nesting bird, just like the lilac-breasted roller. There's also some oxpeckers I can hear calling. All 3 of them would be utilizing this woodland, these woodland trees that we have here as nesting sites. So very, very important for this ecosystem. So Arch, just on the left there, we've got a hyena coming back in. Got one hyena on its own now, thinking it's braver than the rest. I don't think this one was part of the initial group. We're going to see if it does anything. If anything does transpire, we'll be right back here for the action. But in the meantime, I'm going to go over to Brent, who's in the east, who has a date on a lioness.
Well, their heads are still up. They're perusing the valleys. Not much out there for them at the moment. And just those ostriches way in the distance. And it is starting to get a little bit warm. Now, I was asking Steve about what we do when there's no game. Well, there's always a look at game. It takes up a lot of our entertainment while we don't have any animals. Bird watching, insect, fish watching, basically any creature out there. But the downtime we actually have when we're out in the field for long times is when we're with animals like lions or cheetah. But they're doing this. They're sleeping or snoozing. So there's lots of different ways. Probably my favorite is I read, and I've got an electronic book, so I can have lots of different books. So reading's always good. Researching stuff you don't know about, another thing that can take up quite a lot of time, or researching new areas or birds or anything like that. So actually it's far more downtime when you're sitting with flat cats than when you actually don't have any animals. And when you don't have any animals, you are looking for them. And speaking of looking for animals, still no sign of the 5 boys, but I'm sure they're around. Hopefully we'll find them before this afternoon. I'm sure they're hiding about here somewhere. So even while we're sitting with the lions, always good to have a good scan around of the surrounding area, looking for potential prey for the lions, as well as looking for other creatures. Oh, where did that one lioness go now? Into the shade or on the move? Let's have a look. Djuma says they are so majestic. Indeed they are, Djuma. I just want to go see what that other lioness has gone to, or where she's gone to, because it's one spot I don't have a good view of. Oh, it seems like it is a lion morning, because James has got 2 of my favorite lions on Djuma.
Well, there's a Birmingham boy, certainly, Nhenha, one of the favourites. This one definitely has the equal sign on his right nostril, and that is the correct nostril for Nhenha. So we've had Nsuku and Nhenha today, and what looks like amber eyes, I think. The lioness certainly has amber eyes, but she's got a huge amount of scarring on the back, and that's most likely from extensive attempts to mate. But as Nikki is now pointing out to me, she's had it for a while, and I wonder if it isn't a little bit of, I don't know if it's old scarring, maybe one hesitates to say it, a spot of mange. But I don't think so. I think that's scarring. I think it's from being bitten. A life of, well, a fairly hard-lived life. No lion has it easy out here. All of them scarred. And it's so interesting when you go to a reserve that isn't near the Kruger, for example, isn't in part of an open system like Kruger or Mara. Say to Pinda, for example, which is in the northern parts of Natal or KwaZulu-Natal. The lions look like ramp models. You know, they've got no scarring on them at all, because the lion population must be artificially managed. Whereas here it isn't. So these lions fight for everything that they get. And that means that they grow up fairly ropey looking. When you compare them to sort of lions that have been born on these smaller reserves where people move lions in and out to keep the population genetics or the genetic pool relatively deep, you find that they are much better looking. Well, not better necessarily, but certainly they look more more picture book, more Mufasa and less Scar. Yeah, she was, Jen. I was just thinking the same thing. Miss Amber Eyes was with the Pride yesterday. She was, absolutely. And they were with Tino, the male, which means that all three of these males have been around here. And it also means that this chap, Nsuku, picked her up yesterday evening, sometime. Came across the Pride, picked her up, decided to try and make her his consort, which he has successfully done. Sorry, this is Nhenha, and Nsuku's the other one we had today. He's also got quite a swollen nose, this fellow. Quite bulbous. He's probably been on the sauce a bit long, you know. Enjoys the odd bourbon of an evening, 3 or 4. He's also bleeding. Look underneath his eye there. Miguel, you say, could the scars be from botfly larvae? I thought botflies got in the nose. It's possible. I don't know, Miguel. That's a good question. Let's just go back to the male, and let's look at the blood there on under his eye. I wonder if he didn't have a fight with his brother yesterday. Remember how we saw Nsuku with a nasty few gashes over the other side of his face? And I wonder if these two didn't have a fight. Perhaps over mating rights. This after I've told you that they don't normally fight over mating rights. What I meant, I guess, when I said they don't really fight over mating rights is that I suppose at the initial stages when they're trying to isolate the female who's in estrus from the Pride, then yes, there could be conflict. Once we're at this stage, though, it's highly unlikely that another male will come in from the same coalition and try and chase him off. But obviously there was some conflict, and we'd often see, we've got some spectacular footage of these male lions fighting with each other. Yeah, no, he's got some nasty scars. My dear, he's not interested. She's not interested. Leave me alone. Of course, if she's not interested, he's going to find it very difficult to have any kind of mating opportunity. And now he's been smacked in the face, and I think that's last night. And as Nikki says, she has had males following her for quite some time. She does seem to struggle to fall pregnant. And indeed, often when I've seen her mating, it's been those sort of half-hearted attempts where it doesn't look like it's been consummated properly. And by that I mean that she doesn't there isn't that aggressive response as one doesn't want to be too graphic about it, but as withdrawal occurs, so normally there's this painful reaction from her because of the barbs on his penis, and she will then normally turn around and have a swat at him, and I haven't seen her do that, which makes me think that there is some, I don't know, it's just not working quite properly, but I might be wrong. I feel I missed out a lot on the Nkuhumas last year. Scarlett, you're wondering about how much time a male lion can go without water. Well, in theory, they don't actually need water. in theory, if they're eating sufficiently, they're almost water dependent, not independent, not quite like a leopard. So, I mean, it could go, I suspect, weeks without drinking if it's eating sufficient. And if you look at lions in a place like the Kalahari or those desert-adapted lions in Namibia, they'll often go weeks without drinking. But that's only because they get moisture from their kills. You know, we are, what is the figure? Something like 90% water. I think it's something like that. You know, between 70 and 90% water. Bobby, I don't know. I mean, you mean like we do. You say, would a lion drink a lot if he hasn't eaten? And in order to sort of stave off the pangs of hunger? I guess he might. I'm not sure. It's very, I mean, that would be an extremely difficult thing to answer. I suppose you could do some research on and gather a whole lot of lions, or gather research on lions where you measured the amount of time that they'd had since their last meal and see if their frequency of drinking went up. Whether you could attribute that to some kind of feeling of discomfort or an actual physiological need, I'm not really sure. All right, we're going to go from the sublime two male lions to the ridiculous now with Tristan.
Well, we do not have two lions, but we do have, I suppose, a ferocious predator if you are a tiny little insect. And that is a giant plated lizard that is sitting and sunning itself at the moment. We've just got some sun that's been breaking through the clouds, and so for a cold-blooded animal and reptile such as this, it will need the sunshine now to warm up, to get active again after yesterday's rain and then a coolish night and coolish start to the morning. So I'm pretty sure that lizard's happy to see the sun, and that's why it's just sitting there. It's got a perfect little spot though, because it's got a nice termite mound that it can just slink back into should a predator arrive anywhere near it. It's got nice little holes all over the place, and so it can just go in there and nothing will be able to grab it. It's also incredible, the camouflage of that lizard. If it drops its head down, you can see it's almost impossible to see it. You kind of got this blending in factor of that coloration that it's got. It's got this sort of darker back and then a lighter little front, and it actually blends in with the color of that mound incredibly well. And you'll find that often there's more than just the one that will sit here. You sometimes find 3, 4, 5 of them kind of congregated together. They tend to like more sort of rocky sections, so you see them a lot in the rocky areas of Djuma. If there are, well, we don't have too many rocks on Djuma, but when I've seen them a lot on Chitwa, in the drainage line in the Mulawanini there, and you see them a lot to our west off Arathusa, there's a section of rocks where there's a number of them, and funny enough, people stop there to have drinks a lot of the time, and these little guys have become so tame that you can sit there and lie on your tummy and they'll come right up towards your face to come and investigate what you are and see what you're doing, which is very, very cool. Right, now I believe that it is that time where I need to remind all of you about a bingo that is coming up on our TV shows that we are starting on the 4th of Feb. So remember, there will be the TV shows airing on Nat Geo Wild from 10 p.m. from 4 to 8 Feb. There will be 5 of them, and there is a chance that you can win a safari for 2 by playing bingo. And so just head to natgeo.com/safari live. It will be up on Sunday for all the rules and regulations. So Sunday is when all of that information will be up, but you can go and have a little look and see exactly what's going on, and hopefully, like I say, win yourself a safari for 2 to come and see a giant plated lizard. I'm not sure many of you have that on your list, but I'm sure you would love to come and see the lions and leopards and elephants and all the other various things that are out here. So don't forget to go and check that out. Like I say, on Sunday all of that will be up and available for you to see the rules and regulations. Right, now it seems as though everybody else on the team this morning, besides myself, actually I forgot Scott also hasn't seen a lion, but anyway, everybody else has got lions, so we're going to send you all the way back to the Mara and to Steve with his lionesses and see if the hyenas are gone.
Oh, shame, Trist, shame, but at least you've got a plated lizard. They're very exciting. And yes, you do also have lions, and there's still one female feeding there. We're not sure, still not sure what it is. I was still thinking it was a warthog, but the one female who moved into the thickets just moments ago, she is very, very full. And she had a huge belly on her. And the one individual is not even feeding at all. There she is. She is so full. She's got a couple cubs around her. You just see the little tail flicking. So the area we're in, we've come across the big marsh, and there's just these sort of stands of trees and then some small little bushes. So what is often a refuge for a lot of animals is also their doom, because this is perfect cover for lions to hunt in. And if they just camouflage themselves in this thick stuff, it makes it much easier to get closer to an animal. Unsuspecting warthog come meandering through there, and lo and behold, he ends up on the dinner menu, or the breakfast menu, as we should say. So quite important to have all these homogeneous, these heterogeneous areas. You've got nice open plains of sort of nice oat grass, and you've got the floodplains with the marshy area, then you've got these stands of just small shrubs, and then tall trees as well. So all these different habitat types facilitating quite a nice diversity in the area. And can you imagine? See how we've panned out and now we're going in. Could you see the lion? Now see, when we get full zoom, you'll see the lion. Yeah. You imagine walking there, and suddenly there we go, lionesses in wait. So very, very important for the hunting strategies of these animals for this time of year. I know when the grass is a lot longer, they hunt far better out in the open plains when it turns that really golden color, but it's all very green right now. They don't camouflage themselves very well, as Brent experienced just before when female was trying to hunt. Very difficult to camouflage yourself in very short green grass if you are a brown tawny cat. So these little areas here, very, very important for lion prides, and very important for a lot of other animals. What a marvelous morning we're having. Lions all over the place. And what is Amber Eyes doing? What is she doing? We don't know. What a naughty girl she is. But we think that these lions are finished doing what they're doing. There's not too much action here, so we're going to make our way back on and see what else we can find for you in the Mara Triangle. Know that this comes around here. We'll probably get in a better position next time. Raffaele, at what age, she asks, do cubs lose their first teeth, the milk teeth? After about 6 months, they are completely replaced, and then they start eating meat. Up until that point, they've got their milk teeth. They're still able to eat a bit of meat, but they're not able to really chew and cut and destroy the sinew, because they're still quite busy with milk. And poor mum and her nipples, if they did have stronger or sharper teeth earlier on. But 6 months is about the age. So we have left our lions, and I believe there are lots of lions out this morning. We're going to go back to Brent, who has an update for you on his lions.
Well, they're still heading from crest to crest. I think they're looking for warthogs. But unfortunately, there were some warthogs on this crest a little earlier, but they spotted the lions in the short grass and skedaddled at high speed. Now, the reason we're so far away from the lions and not next to them is that I don't want to affect their hunting at all. So I'm keeping a big distance between us and them so we don't affect any potential prey they're after. I guess every hour it gets warmer. Unless something wanders into where they decide to snooze, it's going to become more and more difficult for these girls to get a meal. Very quiet up here on the crests. Kathy says, I love the open plains of the Mara. Indeed, they are quite spectacular, Kathy. And in this area we're in now, there are not too many trees at all. The odd gardenia and the odd balanites with these little croton thickets. And lots of big cats like the croton thickets. And they just got to hope today that something wanders up towards them. There we go. The third lioness heading towards the area where the other two are. Now, they're heading into an area that the grass is slightly longer in, so they might have a slightly better chance at hunting, although I think it's over for the morning, and it's a bit too warm for them now, and they're going to hunker down somewhere nice and cool and shady and try again as it gets cooler this afternoon. Of course, unless something wanders into them. Okay, well, we're going to leave these girls now. I don't think they're going to move too far. Maybe we'll check on them this afternoon. I'm going to go see if I can find the 5 boys still. While we do that, it sounds like Scott's got something with many, many legs and close to the ground.
We certainly do. We have a millipede, and I really do hope Brent gets lucky in tracking down the musketeers. But it must be said, at least a lot of the lion that you've seen today have been quite nice and active, which is not the norm. They spend so much time sleeping, so that's been a bonus. This little millipede, speaking of sleeping, does seem like it's still kind of half asleep. It's moving very, very slowly, and I wonder exactly what its plans are for the day. And astounding when you take a close look at them and all those legs, especially this kind of little tree that it's decided to forage for any snacks on. It's quite astounding how it manages to work out and keep track of all of its legs and what their jobs are as it moves around this fairly tricky little monkey thorn tree. I wonder if it's not trying to nibble and suck little bits of moisture out of this branch. Anyway, we've got some exciting news with James. Why don't you head across and see what he's found you?
Well, what we've got here is Hosana. We had reports of him. We came into the area where he was. Sorry, I'm making things very difficult for Fergus. He's making sighing and wheezing noises, which means that I'm making things hard for him. And here he is. He'd moved from where they said he was, and then Fergus, the sighing and wheezing cameraman on the back of the vehicle, managed to find him with his eagle-sharp eyes. There he goes, naturally. Dylan just relocated. He's heading down towards the dam. I think it's Mike's Kitchen Road. West of that little Squavanini. It's the road west of the airstrip. Sorry, Philip, I've missed your question. I was trying to bring Brent Leo Smith's brother into the sighting. Can we have it again, please? Philip, you say, can leopard territories be drawn on maps, or is it too complicated? It's absolutely not too complicated. It's perfectly doable, and we have done it. And in fact, when our new lion or leopard when our new leopard website pages come up, we're developing a few. We've done just that. You can do it on Google Earth, and they are that easily defined. Here he is. That's him there. He's of course making this very difficult for Fergus because he's sitting on the same side, or he's sitting such that Fergus has to allow for Sebastian. I'll try and get him on the other side of the car for you, Fergus. Make life easier. Oh, we've seen something. Not sure what it is. Do you think it's a Leo Smith? I think it is a Leo Smith that he spotted. Not B, Leo Smith, but D. He's heading typically straight back down to Chitwa Dam. He really does centre all of his activities there. Now remember, I said that you can draw their territories on a map, which you absolutely can, but he's not territorial yet. In theory, he's just trying to stay out of the way of the likes of the Hukamuri male leopard. I've so desperately wanted to say Hukamuri for some time. I imagine some samurai warrior when I say it. David, you want to know if the samurai Hukamuri will feel like he has gained territory as he's gone unchallenged over the last little while. We don't know if he's gone completely unchallenged. We don't know where Tingana is, and if Tingana is perhaps marking territory where Hukamuri is often active. So I suppose on Djuma he might feel like he's gone unchallenged, yes. Shall we move around the front of him there, Ferg? After I listened to the audiobook of James Clavell's classic Shogun, my desire to speak Japanese and in a Japanese accent is overwhelming, and Hukamuri has just given me the great opportunity. There is a Leo Smith. I'm waving at him. He's grinning happily. Jenny, I'm sorry I missed that. Can we have it once again? Let me make it easy for you, Ferg. Ah, yes, you're right. That's absolutely right, Jenny. Very good question. You say Hosana will be turning 2 tomorrow. Yes, he will. It's his 2nd birthday tomorrow. Can you believe it? Just going to take a picture of the guest in the back of that car who was taking a picture of us quickly. There we go. Looks like Adam Clayton from U2, but I don't think it is. What a gorgeous animal, eh? Now Dylan's taking pictures of me. It's all rather embarrassing, really. I'll take a picture of him. So Hosana, I mean, the arrival of the Hukamuri male is a good thing, because what it means is that Hosana will probably be driven from this area. Now, many of you, of course, will now be tearing your hair out and covering your heads in ash and wailing and gnashing your teeth. How could I say such a thing about Hosana? Well, it really would be better for him to set up elsewhere, because we don't want him mating with his relatives, and all of the females in this area are his relatives. What a wonderful leopard he is, and it will be sad when he does go, or if he goes. I think he looks like he needs a good feed. He's quite skinny. And when when he's full of food, he looks a lot more adult than he does now. You can see that's a young leopard now. Sitting in the grass, peering to see if there isn't something nice for him to eat. Hello. May I take a picture of you all? Thanks. Hello, Dylan. I thought you were driving Adam Clayton at the back here. He didn't find that funny, everybody. He just looked away. It's good. We are live at the moment, but it is good. Thank you. There he goes, possibly heading towards some kind of meal at Chitwa. See how he lifts his head up with his ears flat down, just to flatten his profile. Dylan's just saying that there were some impala behind us, so he could be heading towards them. Yeah, he's definitely on the hunt, this leopard. Ooh, he spotted something. But you can see how he's looking a little bit like he needs a feed. Okay, we might have to move now. Okay, He's going to ground behind us. Mrs. Grumpy, what a nice question from you. You say, does a leopard ever opt for the bachelor life, stay in one place and opt to never mate? Well, interesting question. You know, Mvula did that. Essentially, I don't know how bachelor he was, but he stopped being territorial about 2 years ago, or 18 months ago, certainly. And Mvula, for those of you who don't know, is an old male leopard now, last seen at Londolozi, which is a very long way from here, looking pretty much on his last legs. But he, in the face of threats, I think, from his sons and from Tingana, just stopped marking territory. And he stopped calling, but he was found from time to time, often on kills. He did mate once, that we know about, and could have been a few more times, actually. And then he sort of stopped mating, we think. All right, now I have not parked in the best position for our last view of this leopard, but it's not a bad view. I just didn't want to get between him and whatever he was looking at. Anyway, we only have a few seconds left of drive. I don't think he's going to engage in a kill before then. So this will be the last time you see me today. I hope it was nice. Let's go back to the leopard for the last few minutes, or the last few seconds of the drive. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you today again at 1600 hours. That's Central African time. The Mara will be out this afternoon as well, so that'll be at 2:30 Central African time, 3:30 East African time. And then tomorrow as well, a totally normal drive. Next day, back into our rehearsals. Thanks very much for joining us. We will see you later on. Bye-bye.